Hello, everyone, and we have just started live with Candice Beckmann, Joani Livingston, and Jeff DeRiso will be joining us shortly, and I'm Dara Carrillo, and we want to talk about all of the different tools and strategies around how to enhance and increase your brand visibility. So we want to start by just introducing each other. So Candice, why don't you just share briefly who you are, who you serve, why you love what you do?
Oh my, that's a loaded phrase. It's a loaded intro, but I'll try my best. My name is Candice Beckmann. I am the owner-manager of Beckmann Collaborative. We are a collection of experts. I am the lead, of course, and I'm a marketing strategist. And I pull in people based on what my clients need because it's all about telling your great story in whatever your medium is.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you for that. So tell me what you love really about the work that you do. I know you do a lot of social media strategy and people come to you. If you had to say what was your sort of main area that people come to you for, what would that be right now in your business?
I would actually say it's a mixture between strategy and training to do it yourself. So obviously a big part of what I do is creating, looking at the chaos of someone's brand and kind of seeing the clean piece of like, oh, you're a coach. So really what you're trying to do, what your story really is how you improve someone's life. So taking that, turning it into a story, which is really a strategy, then coming up with processes so a business can do it themselves. As much as I like making money to go on vacations, ultimately small business owners can and should be allowed and welcomed to drive their business on their own.
Awesome. And Joani Livingston with Livingston McKay. I'll take over and have a brief introduction of what you do and who you serve.
Well, I kind of like not being able to, for you not to be able to see me because I feel that's like everyone who's joining us, I can't see them either. So it's kind of all things equal. But I would say mostly I'm a storyteller, a story designer, as you said earlier. My producing partner and I'm one of the co-founders and principals of Livingston and McKay. I'm the Livingston part. And we produce content for national PBS and also NPR. Are some things that we do on a much grander national scale. But then we also find that just like Candice, there are a lot of companies that ask us to do video pieces for their company, or they hear that, oh, I must have a video for my website, but that's not, just putting a video on your website is not going to make a difference. It's all about, like Candice said, the story and helping them figure out how to best tell their story so that people will connect, because storytelling is incredibly powerful. Whether you're making a documentary about a particular social issue for social impact, or just for getting people to connect to your brand, as Candice knows well, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And because I'm a coach, I can't help it. So what's your favorite part about what you do, Joani?
You know what? Since I was a kid, I always wanted a movie camera, and I got a tape recorder instead because they were too expensive when I was a kid to have something to be able to shoot footage with. And I honestly feel like I get paid to play every day because, I mean, there's just something about stories that always captured my heart from being a small child, from whether my parents read me stories, and just I can remember very clearly writing those stories when I was a kid. So it's just like it's always just been in there, and to be able to do what I love to do, it just doesn't feel like work at all, although we know it's long hours and a lot of hard work to do it well. So
I love that. Awesome.
Sounds like you and I would have played well on the playground.
Yes, I think so.
I love that. Well, I hope Jeff comes back shortly. I guess he's probably rebooting or restarting to figure out his tech stuff on his side. But Jeff is video production, editing, pre and post. And I know he has a stream of people that he collaborates with as well in his video production company. So hopefully he comes back soon. So again, my name is Dara Carrillo, and I'm with MuseStream, and we do authentic personal branding. And the way that we like to describe it is that we are the first step. So you are your brand. As you move into these different components of really creating your brand plan, social media or content, or even developing your story even before that, right? You connect, learn how to connect authentically to yourself, your values and your strengths, and how to connect with others. And so we're the first step in the branding process, we like to say. And so I guess let's go ahead and get started. I think, let's see, I know Joani had an awesome giveaway, so let's see if we can start that. I saw this done on another show, so we'll see if I do it right, but we'll try. So let's see. So Joani, go ahead.
To offer what you love.
Ooh,
that's right.
Thank you.
Good point.
And also, please feel free to ask questions back. I'm not going to be the only questioner, so thanks for that, Candice. I absolutely love what I do because much like what Joani said, she's very much connected to her why story. So for me, there was a lot of years where I didn't really see or know the value in my own voice. I didn't see or know or believe in my own abilities. And I think just connecting to that and coming through the other side of self-doubt, I am now really confident and capable of really serving others in that same way, because I think it's so important for us just to not live this fractured experience. That's how we often refer to it. It's kind of leading our lives without ourselves. So all these things that we do in our lives, we forget to bring ourselves along on the ride. So I am so empowered and passionate about what I do because I absolutely love lifting up others' self-value and self-efficacy so they can really reach their full potential.
And Jeff just texted me that he is having technical issues with sound.
Oh, bummer. Well, if he can't work through it, which he still is welcome at any point to jump in. It's not that formal on here, but yeah, thanks for prompting me to answer that question, Candice. That's my favorite part of sharing what I do. Okay, so you guys, Joani, if you want to go ahead and share the giveaway that you have, we can get started, and I'll copy and paste some language for people to.
Sure.
To share.
I mean, storytelling, it seems like that's going to be the theme of the day, but it's really, really important for brand and branding yourself, not just yourself, but your business also, because people connect very strongly to stories, and that's what you want for your brand, to have loyalty there. So we created a course. Actually, there's a great TED Talk called Hardwired for Story. And the lady who did that, we partnered with her to create a course for people to understand how you can use it in advertising or your PR, all of those things, with lots of great examples and stuff. It's a $40 course that you can take online, but today, for this session and today only, it's like I told Dara, would be glad to do it for 10. Awesome. The content in it is incredibly valuable, I think, and I'd highly recommend that you watch that TED Talk too, and you'll kind of see that that's what we're going to be fleshing out in that online course, because a TED Talk is relatively short, and so to be able to dive deep, you can't do that since they hold it to a length of 18 minutes, because that's as long as people can listen to someone without like daydreaming. That's what they say. That's what they say. They've done research, and that's why they don't go any longer than 18 minutes. But this way you can dive deep with examples of great brands that tell their stories well, that people really respond to. I mean, we all know this weekend is the Super Bowl. It's like the biggest time of the year for brands using storytelling to connect with people, from Budweiser and their horses and little dog to give you that feel-good feeling. No, it's really important to do that, because they're not selling you on their beer, but they are. They want that feeling that you get from watching the commercial to connect to their brand, and that's what I assume that Candice is going to be talking about too. So that's why we're talking about storytelling today quite a bit. To connect to your brand and to how to be able to, like I said, brand yourself or brand your company or a product.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So she has an online course that she's offering regularly $40. So she's giving a 75% discount for the most people to share this show right now. And I typed some text in there for you to share in that post. So the most people that share, you'll be put into a raffle to win that prize.
Actually, you know what, Dara, I'd like it for everyone who does the hashtag, not just one person to win, but whoever wants it can have it today.
Oh, cool.
I want to be able to help as many people as we can today, because most businesses or individuals don't really understand that part. They're always coming from the place of telling you what they do, the what and the how, but they never come from the place of the why. And I see Candice enthusiastically nodding. She's right there with me. We would have played really great on the playground together. We would have sat and told stories all day.
We would have a master sandcastle with all kinds of stories coming out of it.
Right, exactly.
I love that. Well, fantastic. So, you know, the more shares you get, you'll get an opportunity to get that at an extreme discount. So please share. And in about 30 minutes, we'll offer another giveaway. So let's go ahead and get started. So how about we first start talking about maybe what are some strategies that you use, Candice, with your social media that you've seen work really well for your clients to build their brand? Well, there's so many components, but yeah.
So many. But one of the first things I always tell people to do is pause. Don't just start throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping for the best. Oh, it looks like Jeff might join us back in a minute. A lot of times, so many businesses, we're all guilty of doing this, especially when you're new to a platform. Using Facebook as, for example, when Facebook was new as a platform for promoting your business 7 years ago, let's say, 10 years ago, whatever that was, when the pages launched, people would just put stuff out there. And it started out as a lot of self-promotion. There wasn't a lot of content. So what's really interesting is how that's evolved over time. And now, one of the first things I tell so many different clients to do is just pause and do some research. Do some thinking. There he is. We found him.
Woohoo!
Yes.
I'll pause. Jeff, you want to introduce yourself?
Maybe after you finish making your point.
Yeah, well, just the point is when anytime someone's new to social media, one of the first things I invite them to do is research. And by that, I mean, look at what your competitors are doing. Think about the things that the people you want following you or who already are following you to be talking about. That's like the preemptive before you even start jumping in. Because if you don't know what your audience wants to read or what they're interested in reading, you're just going to put stuff out there and hope for the best. And it could fall flat and you'll get really frustrated and exhausted. And it won't be a good representation of your brand. Because if all you're doing is talking about yourself constantly, well, I mean, does anybody like a narcissist? No. So why would we like a narcissist brand?
Exactly. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing in social media. And social media is like the absolute devil when it comes to this. It can become a total rabbit hole where you think, oh, people want me to talk about myself. That's why they're on my page. But really, they want you to share the valuable content that you have, the insights you have. You know, like Dara, some of the things you can offer people is great questions you should be asking yourself to, you know, understand your brand. It's not Dara asks you great questions. You know, there's a big difference in just that slight change in your wording. So basically, do research, think about what your audience wants to hear, and figure out what they already are listening to.
Great tip. Love that. Yeah.
I like it.
So welcome, Jeff. So go ahead and introduce who you are and what you do, who you serve.
All right. So my name is Jeff DeRiso. I am a video producer and post-production expert. I've worked as a consultant for video for small and large businesses, and basically trying to bridge that gap between the resources that are necessary for, let's say, like a feature film or a large, you know, TV show production, and the resources that a smaller business might need to utilize the same resource, which is video, to increase brand visibility is just one way. There's obviously lots of ways to use video. You could use it internally. You could use it for trainings. So just basically trying to bridge that gap in what are the absolute least amount of resources necessary to still get a great product for video and come in under budget for a small business.
Yeah. So important, because I think, you know, I think we have an echo going on too, darn. Let me see if I can lower my volume, that might help. Yeah, I know, you know, a small business owner coming in, I'd be curious for people in the audience, if you were all entrepreneurs, how many years have you been doing it and what do you do? We'd love to hear from you. What do you do? How long have you been doing it? Are you a beginner? Have you been out there a while? I myself am pretty new to entrepreneurship. Last year was my first full year out on my own. So it's amazingly overwhelming when you come into this new world of all these different tools that you can use, which is another reason why I wanted to sort of pay it forward with this platform. All these things that you trip over that first year, the second year even, and just to know that there's some strategies and tools that you can use that work for you as a new coach or as an established entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur or an established entrepreneur, small business owner. There's tools that work for you. So yeah, let's explore a little bit about that. Any thoughts on that, Joani?
Well, for an entrepreneur, you definitely, I mean, you know, what it is that you're trying to do. And so you've got to somehow be able to convey that information well, so that people can understand, first of all, which is again your why. Why are you doing this? That's what people want to know. And how are you different? But all of that, the how and the what, always come after the why, because people have to believe in what you're doing, and then they'll go along for the ride to hear the details. But if you lead with only the details, especially like in your social media and things like that, that's not gonna, they're not gonna connect to that. The great thing about starting with the why, which is, as all of us here are storytellers, is that, you know, I mean, stories literally remap your brain. It creates empathy with the person telling the story. And when that happens and it's connected to a brand, people will follow that brand to the ends of the earth. You know, you have to do something pretty major to disrupt that incredibly strong bond that you would feel from that. I mean, back Saatchi and Saatchi used to call it love marks, that people love things unreasonably. And they do that because of the way that you're communicating what it is that you want to do, especially if you're pitching someone on whatever it is that you are wanting to start as an entrepreneur. I mean, stories are incredibly important to include in your pitch, to get an investor involved, anything that you want to move someone in a particular direction, not manipulate, but just so that they really get a complete understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. And stories are the things that make it so powerful, and make it create that bond to where they listen to you, they get excited about what you're doing. And I think that's really important for entrepreneurs to know how to do. I was at a venture angels meeting in Austin last year about this time, and they had all these people give their pitches, and they're saying, this is what we're going to do. Here's the this and this and this. And it's like, you know, that doesn't move people. If you really want action, you have to come from a place. You can lead with a story of like, how did you get the idea in the first place? And why is it important to you that you've stepped into this space to do that? And that's what people will go like, I get that. And I understand that. Absolutely. And so that's what we're talking about. I think all of us, as you know, as a filmmaker too, you know, it's like, I mean, this is what we're trying to do again in the social impact space. Because stories, like I said, they remap your brain, and you don't just feel like you're there with the person that's telling that story and connecting in that way. You literally feel like when someone's telling you a great story, you feel like it's happening to you. That's what's going on in your brain, literally, is that you feel that it's happening to you. So you can see as an entrepreneur how important that is to be able to take people on that journey to explain why they need to invest in your idea, your business, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, beautifully said. And if anyone in the audience, if at any point you want to ask some questions, please do. You can look on the left side. If you do a / and a Q, it'll pop up a question on the left side of our screen, and we'll be able to ask it and feature it. So if you'll ask some questions or let us know your thoughts or comments around it, please share. We have Joani Livingston with us today, who is a story designer, Candice Beckmann, who is a marketing and content developer and strategist, and Jeff DeRiso, who is a video production guru. So you have a lot, and I'm a personal branding coach. I keep forgetting me in the mix. So we're talking about storytelling and how to increase your brand. So what are some thoughts that you might share around video, Jeff, on how entrepreneurs or even professionals might use video to increase their brand visibility?
So I was thinking about what Joani was saying when she was talking about which was great about telling stories and about how people connect to them. And I think the first thing I would encourage, especially with video, is do the big picture work first. Have the overall plan before you implement the video as one one tool or one tactic of that overall plan. It's not just one end in itself. And the other thing is, video is very revealing. And while you're telling a story, make sure that it's a genuine story. And that a lot of people that I've worked with in the past feel tempted to, edit or hide certain parts of their story that I thought could have been actually valuable in telling the story to their customers and promoting transparency. And I think there's no real part of your story that doesn't matter to your customers. They want to know it all, and they deserve to. So I think video presents a great opportunity for you to really present yourself as someone who is transparent, and you may have made mistakes, you may have had hardships in your business, but you should put it all on the table and be genuine in the story that you tell, because if not, the video will probably reveal that.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said. So tell me a little bit more, when you say people want to come in and they should have this large plan around how to use video to enhance their brand. What are some ways they can do that? Or do you help them with that? Is there another type of person that can help them with that? How does that process look?
Well, as a production expert, I would usually not handle the overall strategy, whereas it would be someone like Candice, or Joani, who has the expertise in sort of creating the big picture plan to tell the overall story through other means and web and blogs and social media posts. And the video just sort of piggybacks along with those things and tells that same story in a more intimate way. But, just making sure that the video is made with a certain goal in mind. And that goal is part of one of your goals that you set out when you sit down and say, okay, I want my brand to be visible. If I just make a YouTube channel and start uploading videos, that's not going to have any effect, because it's not part of an overall strategy that is designed to get me leads at the end of the day, because that is what I would assume is the end goal of brand visibility, is lead generation.
Absolutely. Getting out there. So a lot of things I've heard so far is being genuine, being vulnerable, and being intentional, right? Planning ahead. So what are your thoughts on that, Candice?
It's interesting. The word truth keeps on coming up. One of my big thoughts around that is, we don't sell products or services, we sell ourselves, right? So if I was to go to Home Depot, I'm not really buying necessarily the pieces of the store. I'm buying the person who sold it to me. It's the person who walked me down the aisle and sold me that product. So it's really interesting thinking about this big picture story, because once you pull the big picture together, all the little pieces, the video pieces, the content, the lead generation form, they all matter, and they're all part of that bigger story. But at the end of the day, if the person telling the story isn't transparent, if they're not truthful, if they're not pure of heart, so to speak, people are going to see through that, and it's going to be obvious. So it's very interesting to me to think about the truth behind it. So I think if you, especially in social media, we touched upon social media earlier, many people will ask me the question, well, is it okay if I have my personal social media page and then I've got my professional page and there's crossover between the two? The reality is, you have to be okay with that. If you're going to have a social media presence, you are searchable and people are going to find you. So you can't hide the fact that you went on vacation and had a beer with a cool person that you met there. That's okay. In fact, that's probably great, because again, as Joani mentioned before, if you are true to who you are, it's going to come through in your brand, and people are going to like you better. They're going to connect with you. They're not only going to like you, but they're going to like the story you tell and see the truth in it. It's an interesting concept, that line between personal and professional, and what that means for your brand. And I think that's actually a big part of the conversation here too today, is your story isn't just Beckmann Collaborative, my business. It's, I'm Candice. I'm a piece of this. I'm an important piece of this. And who am I in the world? And how does that affect my staff and my clients and my friends and my family? One crosses over into the other these days. There's no storefront that separates it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know we had a conversation earlier this year, or maybe even mid last year, where I just sort of transitioned and sort of opened up that gateway, because there's really no privacy. Once you're online, and everyone can see everything. And so really the question kind of comes back to, who's the person that you want to be? Who is the person that you want to be, right? So if it's you're going to be completely transparent and be your brand, who's the person that you're going to be that's going to position you for the life that you want and for the type of business success that you want? And I think, so I'm very intentional with what I share. So I don't share everything, but what I share online really is who I am. Mm-hmm. Maybe 5 years ago, I was a little more party Dara. So that's a lot of what you saw. But I'm not putting that because I'm really not doing that anymore, right? So, and if I do here and there, then I'm probably not apt to, oh, cheers. I just choose not to do that, right? I choose to use sort of clean language online, or to not really show too much of that side, because it's really not there, right? So it's interesting, right? So when you sort of change your Facebook, it's not as telling as you think it is, but I think you can be really intentional with what you choose to put out there too.
Yeah.
Do we lose sound?
I missed the last part of what you said.
Yeah, I think we can be really intentional with how we choose to be, right? How we choose to be and what we choose to put out in the world. So what are some other ways that, so tell us, you have like a plethora of services, Joani, at Livingston, McKay. So what are some of the areas, or what do entrepreneurs or other professionals come to you the most for?
Just really to figure it out. I mean, I would just add to what was said earlier about, with the video content is, when we were talking before we started, we had a big medical company that are doing these pop-up emergency places that they're growing like wildfire all over Georgia. And they said that their web people told them, you got to have videos, but the videos won't matter if what you say in your videos is the same as what the copy says on your website. Mm-hmm. Because people can read that. So it's not just putting videos on there, but it's the type of video that you do. It's like one of the things that we were asked to do was for a university to do the video component for their bid to get a presidential library housed at their university. And the people there got it because they came to me and said, we are creating this great coffee table size book that has the details of what the plan is and what we would do should we be able to house the presidential library here. Mm-hmm. Your job, what we see it is, and this is great to have a client like this because they get it before they even come. And they said that the only requirement that I have from you guys is that when I watch it, I want the hair on the back of my neck to stand up. Because that's what videos are really great at, is that emotive component. Mm-hmm. That when you see that and then you have the material to look at it, later, you're connecting that emotion you felt watching the video to the information that you're now looking at. And again, that goes back to that whole love marks thing of loving things unreasonably. We all have friends who are mad about their Mac products and they will only do Mac. And we have this whole Mac PC divide, right? But that's what I'm talking about, of loving something unreasonably. They will, they're fangirls and fanboys for the everything Mac, and I can count myself among them too, Dara. So, but that's just as a way to be able to tell you what I'm talking about. And that kind of connection is what happens and why videos are so powerful on your website, not to just reiterate what people can read already, but to create that emotional connection with your audience, because that's what's going to make the brand stick, whether it's you personally or it's the product that you're selling or wanting to house a presidential library at your university and you're making your case why it should be here. All of that comes into play. It's like it's so funny to me that people have such a hard time telling stories because we just naturally do this. If you think about it, when you come home from work and you got the kids around the table, if you have family dinner together, it's like, well, what was your day like? And then you launch into this like, oh my gosh, today was, and you're like almost an actor. You go in and you play out your whole day and you're telling a story. But then when it comes to you personally, to sell yourself, if you will, or your product, it's like all of that just goes out the window, and you go like, what just happened there? It's like, we know how to do this. And then we just kind of get caught up in, well, people need to know, this and this and this about, we provide this and we can do this for you. And it's like, and people don't care about that. They do just exactly what Candice said. It's like, they want to know you. It's like, they want to connect to you because you represent your brand. And if they trust you, which is what stories do, they build trust and emotion and all of those things that make everything super sticky, as we like to say. That's really hard to forget, because stories are like mnemonic devices that you cannot ever forget once you hear a really great story. I can tell you, think back when you were in high school, what was the movie that you loved? Or, I mean, I could quote The Princess Bride all day long. You know what I'm saying? It's like we use a line from that. And it's like, as you wish, or whatever it may be. It's like that can come up like that. But that's the power of a really well-told story, connecting you to whatever it is. So that's what you're looking for always when branding yourself or your business, or, trying to help someone sort through something. If you're talking with a friend who has a problem, I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. It's what makes us human beings. We were born to tell stories, and that's why we respond to it all so strongly.
Yeah, I love that. And even to kind of take it a step back, some of my favorite experiences, kind of speaking on the kind of trend that's kind of coming up in this conversation, which is truth and genuine and showing yourself. Some of the most powerful transformations I've seen with the clients that I've worked with personal branding is they come to me thinking that they can only share so much, right? So then we have to kind of pause and say, if you really sort of share the real story underneath it all, and I'll give you an example. I'll give myself as an example. And so back in the day, I was very shameful around this idea of having a fear of happiness. And people who knew me would be like, what? You're so outgoing and so optimistic, and there's just no way that could be true. And as soon as you say it out loud, whatever it is for you, right? So if it's something that's super positive or something that you overcame, whatever that is, if you overcame some adversity, and that's part of your story, it's so important not only to share that for yourself, because it really dispels some of that power that it holds on you. And then it's not so fearful. Then you can sort of step into that a little bit more. And so we're all talking sort of out here from brand visibility from the external, but even connecting to your own story for yourself and finding that intrinsic motivation that's going to move you through being an entrepreneur and doing all this hard work that it entails. That is some of the most important things that I have seen is connecting to yourself and finding that inspiration to move you through. The past 2 years have been some of the hardest years ever. It's so hard to be an entrepreneur, and you have to kind of connect to that source of inspiration to kind of be able to move you through that story, right? To get to that place for yourself and then for the others that you connect with. So that's something that I would contribute to that part of the story, is connecting to your own values and strengths so that you can really have some sustaining movement in your life and your business.
Well said.
What I would say also is that, with how media has become more of a democracy now, where more people have the power to put their voice out there and be heard, we have more of a responsibility, all of us, to be good citizens and be good to each other and share what's going on with us, because that may help someone else or inspire them or lead them to something to some solution to some problem that they had. And we may not even know that, but just by being honest and making our voices heard, we can, help and be a guiding light for somebody who may be in a tough situation and be looking for a solution to their problem.
That's beautiful.
Well, yeah, because
absolutely.
I think we can all relate to someone. I mean, we all feel like that. So when you're vulnerable, not only is it freeing for you to be able to say it, but the person hearing it knows exactly what you mean. They feel it too. And so when you feel empowered, you're also empowering them to be real with you.
Absolutely.
Which is exactly, what we're just saying. So
yeah, it becomes a shared
experience. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's, oftentimes we are our work, or we are the model. So we are taking the lead on sort of sharing some insights that worked for our clients. But what about for us? So would each of you be willing to share, what are you doing with your own brand besides live streaming? Because this is obviously part of it, right? The new 2016. What are you doing to increase your brand visibility in your own business? I loved your honesty there, Candice. You're live streaming. Hello.
Well, honestly, it's so funny. As you're talking about how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. At the end of the day, when you're an entrepreneur, clients come first. I find myself often so tied up in a client's brand. I will think in that mindset for hours. You know, if I'm I have one client who's actually I have several clients, but one client in particular who's in the technology space, and it's all about, you know, communication. It's a communication tool, right? I will be lost in that thought pattern for hours at a time, and then realize, oh, I haven't worked in my own business for a whole day. Oops.
Right.
So it's really funny when you ask, you know, what are you doing for your own brand visibility? And at my most lazy, I would say minimum, I'm writing a blog. Honestly, I'm trying to share insights. So whenever I go to events, I recently gave a talk at NAPW, the National Association of Professional Women, about social media and really just like developing a social media campaign. Again, coming back to what I said earlier, not throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping for the best, but really strategically approaching it. And there was so much content to cover. It's overwhelming. So I felt required almost to take that same presentation and turn it into a series of blog posts. So I turned it into a series of blog posts, and it worked to my benefit. I took an in-person event where I'd represented my brand by me being there myself, and followed up with that organization by writing dedicated blog posts to their members. Obviously, that content is valuable to anyone else visiting my website, but I pointed out in the first blog, hey, this is for the ladies of NAPW. You wanted this information, this is for you. So I would say that's my laziest approach to my own brand visibility, is physically being in someone else's space. Ooh, that sounded creepy. So being in events.
I think we know what you meant. You're like, strike that, reverse.
Like, never mind. So making physical contact. Oh, can't say that one either. Being at events. We'll go with that one. Making FaceTime with people by being at events, whether it be your BNI group or a local networking event, or in my case, it was NAPW, and then following up in that way with things like blog posts to support the content you discussed. So it's interesting. It's not just the follow-up email. I publicly shared the insights that I had shared with that group, and that actually extends it. So that's one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, they often say it's in the follow-up, and I know there's I can improve in a lot of ways. It's like just follow up. So some of the things I've done this year is really schedule one-on-one time with some other, in my case, women entrepreneurs, because just kind of connecting with each other to know that we can be of support. Entrepreneurs in general, but I love being around women entrepreneurs who are really ambitious, intelligent, and driven. It's just really inspiring for me. So that's one way I'm doing it on more of a personal level, kind of building those relationships in a different way, right? So you're building those relationships through giving them more value.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. Extending it beyond the event. Yeah. How about you, Joani? Jeff?
You want to go, Jeff?
Sure.
Or do you want me to go?
I'll go ahead. For me, it's been really important to connect with like people who are in the same field as I am. So maybe considered competitors, but people who do exactly what I do. Just to sort of hash out ideas, talk about experiences, and my name becomes in their Rolodex, and I may have a slightly different expertise that is something that they need. So sort of making that known to them, and also, you know, listening to what they have to say, and maybe taking in some advice or you know, perspective that they might have on the situation that I hadn't thought of. So getting that other perspective from someone who does the same thing, but also getting a perspective from a prospective client, somebody who is a marketing strategist, or somebody who does PR advertising. So somebody who would want to use my service as a tool for their overall plan to help a client get more leads.
That's right.
So that is really valuable in just how can I help? What can I do to make the whole overall process easier for those people? And I think having those personal one-on-one, in some cases one-on-one chats with those people really it may not be a numbers game. It may not be getting out to a lot of people in numbers wise, but it's that quality of those connections. And if they tell one person how great that conversation was, that is worth more than, you know, a social media post that was seen by 150 people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say for what we're doing at Livingston and McKay is very much, you know, what both Candice and Jeff have said on both of those aspects, but also for us, we feel that it's like the information that you know, we just want to be able to help people that have no idea about how to do this. So not just business owners and stuff, but we feel very strongly about mentoring young filmmakers and young writers, anyone that kind of is in that realm to spend the time with and invite them into the process with us to either be like a production assistant or even an assistant editor for a documentary we may be working on for PBS, which is a great start for them when they get out of college, you know, to have a national credit on something. But we just want to become more accessible to people that would love to do what we're doing and want to learn how to do that and help young filmmakers and storytellers be able to achieve that, get a good head start, and be very generous with what we know. And I think when you do that, I think that's just attractive to people. We don't do that to be attractive to people, but we really just want to help. And coming from that place of being like, this is stuff I know, and I don't want to just keep it all to myself for ourselves, for our own personal gain. But because I think, like, as cheesy as it sounds, it's like all boats rise, right? If when you do that.
I love that saying. Yeah, I love that. It's so true. And just to kind of piggyback on a little bit of what everyone was saying in here, it really is about, so that generosity or being in service of others. I recently heard this, I don't know if it was in a different podcast or something, but they said people really need help with the implementation, so share the information. So if you can still show a lot of generosity and give a lot of value, and people need the support beyond that will come to you for help with the implementation. So it's kind of sharing that information in different ways to kind of like this, right? So this is an added value that you're giving your time to give people some insights about your own experiences and your own success, but what's working well with not only for your business, but for your clients. So I think that's so important. And I want to piggyback also what Jeff said, because I'm very much doing that coming into this new year, finding new ways to network. Like this is one platform. I am not one of those people that will go to 3 or 4 different networking events every week. I mean, ain't nobody got time for that. Like I just, I want to do other things in my evening or at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, so I'm very, I don't know, for lack of a better word, picky, right? Candice?
Sounds about right.
Yeah. I'm very picky with sort of, I want to do things very intentionally and not doing them just to be busy, I guess, if that makes sense, right? So I see people that are constantly going out to all these different events, which I've seen great success with that, right? So people get out there, and I know Candice is one of them. She's a networking guru, or however you want to call it. I'm looking.
That's a little.
You do or you don't?
That's too much.
No, okay. Yeah, it's too much. And so kind of speaking of brand visibility, what works for you? And so I guess what I want to offer is that you don't have to do it just because that's the way that's presented, and that's the way the majority does it, right? So there's lots of different ways that you can increase your brand through networking that work for you. One platform like this, I'm on my couch drinking my Starbucks, right? This is fantastic. I'm collaborating with some amazing entrepreneurs here in Austin in this conversation. And I think just those things doing like that, and what Jeff was saying, I'm also doing that same thing where I'm meeting with one entrepreneur a week and just really getting to know each other. And how can I help support your clients? Because I know my clients, when we're at the end of our personal branding series of coaching together, they need some video production. They need marketing strategy. They might want to do a documentary. I don't know, whatever that is. So I want to connect with other awesome entrepreneurs to say, hey, I've taken time to get to know these people, and they would be a great resource for you. So I love that. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Those networking events, you do best when you find one great contact, not 20 business cards, or whatever these other crazy expectations I've heard people talk about. You go to a networking event, you come out with one great contact who you're excited to follow up with, and that takes you so much further in life. That NAPW event I attended because I was the speaker, everybody approached me. I was totally overwhelmed by it. There's just 1,000,001 people being like, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you. And I was like, that's great. I had all these business cards. When I got home, I could remember 2 of the conversations because they were the only 2 people who had taken the time to say, hi, Candice, my name is. I think we should have a conversation because. So it's really interesting how like that key difference between the 2. Yeah, I can't advocate enough for that. And at those networking events, write notes on those business cards. That actually sounds like so far. Those notes.
That's awesome. Yeah. Any key points on how you're getting out there, Joani, in your business? What do you do to kind of build those relationships or connect with people?
Well, one of the other ways that we do that is to events that may line up with what our personal brand is, to be able to be supportive of that. For example, at South by Southwest last year, we sponsored a talk about what really happened at Ferguson, which is a very important, topic, especially with what's going on in our nation right now. So to find things like that, and you've got your brand on there associated with something that you believe in, and there's an alignment of values that you're saying we feel it's important to put our own personal money behind supporting this Race for the Cure or whatever it may be, is another great way, I think, for brand visibility. But it has to align with what your own mission, vision, and values are for your own company too, because that's one way that we do it. So in particular, at things like South by Southwest or Sundance, where we have like-minded individuals, as far as like the purpose of the people that are there, it's like basically our tribe, as they say, and to say, hey, we really believe in this. This is for example, like at the Austin Film Festival, it was really funny. We sponsored the talk by Michael Arndt, who wrote Little Miss Sunshine, but was also the writer for Toy Story 3, And so it's like anybody who's doing something of excellence. See, most sponsors at the Austin Film Festival were sponsoring films. And they were saying, are you sure you want to sponsor a talk? And we're like, yes, because what he has to say is so important, and we are huge in like being able to tell stories well, and he knows how to do it. And we would rather sponsor his talk than we would just a film.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So you found your own way. That's unique. Yeah. That's awesome.
But that it aligns with what you find important. And it says a lot about your brand then too. So when people see that, they go like, oh, that's Livingston McKay. They made that possible for us to do whatever.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, I want to dig a little because that's really cool. I'm always about the logistics. How did you make that happen? So how did you make that happen? How did you get into South by? I mean, with the zillion things that are going on, how did you get in as a sponsor for a talk?
Well, again, it kind of all started back attending an event as a speaker, like Candice did, where you just have a conversation with someone and they go, you know what, we're going to be at South by and we're going to host this. Would you guys be interested in this? It all comes out of personal relationship, or most of it does. I can't say it all does, but a huge percentage of it does. And out of that also came the opportunity to even be on a panel at South by last year that was sponsored by the UN Foundation. To talk about the importance the arts play in our lives. And so that was, I mean, I can talk about that all day, And so I think that just making yourself available and not just like, Candice was saying, throwing spaghetti against the wall and, oh my God, I'll just sponsor this and I'll sponsor that or whatever, or just going to these events just to get your name out there. You got to be done purposefully. I think we've hit that topic pretty strongly today too, that everything needs to align with who you are. That speaks volumes about your brand, of what's important to you, what you can do for your clients, and what you yourself want to see personally happen.
Awesome. So how about you, Candice and Jeff? Have you guys kind of made your way through the South by scene? I know there's some people that will be super critical, like, oh yeah, if you're a new business or if you're a service-based entrepreneur, you'll be flooded. It's so hard to stand out. But have you guys tried to connect any sort of efforts during South by that's coming up in 2 months?
Not even 2 months. One.
A month and a half. 1 month. Yeah.
Jeff, you want to go first?
No plans for this South by as of right now.
Yeah.
No.
It's so huge. I mean, I keep wanting to come up with creative ways to kind of get out there, but then before you know it, it's next month. So how about you, Candice?
It's so funny. Almost all of my clients have the, ooh, South by is so expensive reaction. Mm-hmm. They don't want to buy a badge, but they want to be there. They want to participate. And what's so interesting is there's so many opportunities to participate in South by Southwest without having a badge. There's so many events that people are hosting for free, so many existing parties and events to jump in on. One of my clients has an annual party. Ironically, South by Southwest is one of their annual partners, and they have an annual party. And what's really interesting about them is they only invite executive levels and VCs, venture capitalists, to this party every year. Usually in like the few days prior to the party launch, they open it to the public, but they only invite that level of people. And getting into those kinds of parties, I mean, it is a party, but it's really a strategic networking event. So knowing the businesses that your business aligns with best, and for lack of a better phrase, cyber stalking what they're doing for South by, I think that's actually a really effective approach. If you have no budget and you don't know what the heck to do for South by, taking some time to just poke around, see what's happening, make a list, and I mean, at least from the business standpoint, not even the music part, but if you're really into South by Southwest Interactive, there's so many opportunities to meet. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many presidents and CEOs and CTOs I've just met at a Mix and Mingle event. There's Austin Coffee, there's the Startup Crawl, there's just a million opportunities. So getting yourself into those events that are free and that are, maybe open to the public or a limited amount of public could be such a simple and affordable way to get a conversation going. Austin Open Coffee is one of my favorite groups. I go to them. I used to go every month. It's a little harder now. But they have an exclusive event just for South by. Yeah, they charge like $5 or something. But for an opportunity to be in a tight-knit group of 20 or 30 people and have that great conversation. Again, we talked about going to networking events and finding the one contact. Same idea. I actually have a strange interest in Norwegian business. I know. It's kind of random and out of nowhere. But I do also know that,
your thing.
It's a thing, right? I think businesses in Norway are really interesting. And so I found out last year that the Norwegian consulate has a pitch contest for Norwegian companies every South by. It's free. It's open to the public. They don't promote it to Austinites per se, but I found out about it because I went searching for it. And I went there and I heard amazing business pitches, and I made great contacts so that when I'm ready to go visit Norway and meet with those businesses, or they come back to visit again this year, I've made these contacts.
Awesome.
That was a long-winded way of saying go to a party.
Right.
But
hashtag go to a party.
Can I just add one thing to that too? Because there are a lot of free events, but you know what? There's people everywhere. I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations we had just going to lunch somewhere. Because everything is packed. I mean, you're talking about like so many people descend upon Austin or any event. It could be in New York City. It could be you anywhere. It's like there are people just milling about that have come in from all over the world, really, to attend this event. And you can just be out at dinner at a restaurant, or you're waiting in line to get in to get coffee or something like that you can have amazing conversations and meet all kinds of folks. Everybody's wearing their badge, who they are and where they're from.
Yeah, you can spot them.
I mean, you can just have amazing conversations just standing in line waiting to get tacos. I mean, you just have to be aware of what's going on around you, as well as take advantage of free events if you don't want to buy a badge and go to all the other stuff, Last year, I didn't go into any events where they had all the big speakers, and then I had a friend who wouldn't miss any of that and went to all the film premieres. It's like I wasn't interested in that. I was just, wanting to meet some interesting people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it depends on your personality too, right?
True.
Obviously, the four of us have no problem approaching strangers, but if you have a problem approaching strangers,
right.
you have to, seek out your tribe, and that's where those South by Southwest badges come in handy. Somebody who might not be the most outgoing, they see an opportunity. I really sincerely hope they're willing to at least speak up a little bit and talk.
Yeah.
Said person.
I love sharing that. I think a lot of cool things came up, and you guys helped me with the recap, but I want to, if you guys have any questions, we have a story designer in the house of Livingston, McKay. She's an Emmy award-winning filmmaker and documentarian. We have the fabulous Candice Beckmann of the Beckmann Collaborative doing marketing and strategy development for entrepreneurs, and Jeff DeRiso, the amazing and creative video producer and editor. So if you guys, and I keep doing that, and I'm the personal branding coach, co-founder of Newstream in Austin, Texas, where we're the first step in your branding process before you move out there into using these other tools and strategies to build your brand. So if you guys have some final thoughts and questions, we're going to do a recap, but please take advantage of the opportunity. We had a couple people that, I'm going to scroll back up, that took advantage of tweeting out. So Ian Power, if you're still here, or David Andreas Alegria. If you want to take part in the Livingston and McKay Hardwired for Story online course discount, please reach out to Joani. So thanks for sharing with your network. So Joani, do you want to tell them how you can get in touch with you?
Sure, you can go to our website if you want to. That's probably the easiest thing. Just go to livingstonmckay.com and use our contact. And anybody who tweeted today, you're welcome to contact and get that discount today for learning how to use story to create your brand, whether it's personally or for your business.
Fabulous. So we had several people in there. David, let's see who else shared. Ian, I don't know if he is still here. Mark, who else? Obviously Candice and me also shared. So please be in touch, livingstonmckay.com, and you can take advantage of that amazing offer by Livingston McKay on how to hardwire your story online course. Okay, cool. So what are some final thoughts as we move into kind of closing out our very first how to increase your brand visibility? Final thoughts you guys want to share?
Does anyone have any questions that have been with us on this journey? We've all kind of been asking each other questions or adding our own 2 cents. I was just wondering if anybody had any questions they had that they wanted to know that maybe we didn't touch on.
Yeah, so maybe what are some things holding you back in your business? Are there mostly entrepreneurs in here, or professionals? Maybe you're looking to transition careers, or I know there's an MBA student in here who's kind of looking to position and build his personal brand. So what are your questions that you have that you're curious about? Where do I start? What's some questions?
Well, maybe you got all your questions answered,
Yeah.
and hopefully you learned some things, at least the way in the areas that we have expertise on stuff that will help you.
Well, we talked about.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say we covered storytelling. We covered truth. We covered the big picture and all the details. I'm trying to think of all the things we went through. Then we dove into South by Southwest and how to take advantage. We talked about networking.
Absolutely. So yeah, we talked about a lot of things. So to do a recap, so how do you get out there? Where do you start? What do you do? What tools can you use to kind of find your way to increase your brand visibility? We have a marketing and content developed strategist who shared some ways to not throw spaghetti on the wall. That's come up a lot. Oh, I love that. Someone shared some stuff. Oh, that was Jeff. Is to be very intentional and be strategic with how you use your social media. So come up with a big picture plan, right? So that was how Candice sort of shared in her way on how to use social media, and so did Jeff. He said, don't just create a video for the sake of video, right? Have a larger strategic plan to get your message out there and be very real and vulnerable and genuine. Because, and then as Joani mentioned too, and I did as well, connect to your why story and show people who you are, because people want to see you and hear you and connect in a real emotional way. And so I think that's a great way to build trust and increase engagement with your, not only your audience, but the community and your clients too. So a lot of cool things came up today. And I know we were just kind of in the last couple minutes closing out.
David asked a question here. I wanted to answer it if I could.
Yeah, please go.
So I'll read the question. He says, I am currently helping a young filmmaker develop a social media strategy for her online brand. Based on the conversation, do you recommend her to build a list of online influencers? And I would say, absolutely. I think that's a great first step into figuring out what you want to say, is figuring out what people that you're already attracted to are already saying, in sort of getting in that mode of getting the creative juices flowing. Taking in a lot of content is a great way to get inspiration for what you want to add to the conversation. So I think David is definitely on the right track with that. And I think Joani could probably help him even further develop that idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a great way to start, because people are always looking for great content and what they're interested in. And so to see what's being said, not only will, as a young filmmaker, will you learn a lot, but you'll also find where things that you love, areas that you love, that you can, like Jeff said, add to the conversation in the way that you can, and even ask for advice, would be really super valuable too. I found people to be very open and helpful on Twitter.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So is that helpful, David? Content is king. Yeah, thanks for your comments, everyone.
Absolutely. That's what we're talking about. That's why we spent so much time, I think, at the beginning about storytelling, because content is king.
That's beautiful.
But I would say authentic content is king, not just any content. Can I get an amen?
Yeah, you can get amens.
Got a couple of
all of us, but yeah.
And I would say the authentic person is its queen. Content in the middle of nowhere is not much of a king if he doesn't have his
exactly. That is exactly right too.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, as an authentic personal branding coach, and a lot of you are touching on a lot of this, right? Taking that step backwards to understand and know who you are is a lot of, sometimes people just go so fast they forget. And they just say, okay, on a website, I want a social media. And they need to take that step back and find out who they are and what's the message they want to deliver, right? Even before they develop their story. It's knowing who you are, constantly raising that awareness so that you can not only inspire yourself, but the others around you too. So that's what I would add to that, David. Thanks for the question. Well, you guys, this is fabulous. I'm really happy. Oh, awesome. Thanks so much. So thanks, Joani and Jeff and Candice. You are the first of many shows I hope to have on Blab. I'm going to keep the title the same, and we're going to have different panelists. So if you guys Get Seen in 2016, Increase Your Brand Visibility, there'll be a variety of experts every single week. Right now, we're kind of keeping it open, so it won't be at the same time. But if you want to kind of connect with us on one of our channels, please follow us, and we'll be announcing it through our social media. So you can follow us on Twitter. Joani is at Livingston McKay. Candice is at Candice Beckmann. Jeff is at Catchframe, and I'm at Dara ATX.
And Dara, if someone wants to be one of your speakers, how should they reach out to you?
Yes, please do, at Dara at DaraCarrillo.com, or you can also follow me on Twitter and reach out to me that way as well. Yeah, because we're looking for any sort of panelists that want to come talk about one way that they can increase their brand visibility, because there's so many. Y'all start with story, but as everyone has shared here today, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can get your brand out there, through social media, through how you network, through video, through PR and marketing, through creating a documentary, whatever it might be. Next week, or actually in 2 weeks, we have people coming on about events and PR. So that'll be really interesting, as well as events and promotions and a ghostwriter. So getting your first book published and increasing your brand that way. So there's lots of ways you can do that. So it's just finding a way that works for you. So thanks so much, everyone. This was awesome. We get the name out.
This was fun.
Rent the Chickens.
Yes,
that's kind of funny.
Including us.
I feel like there's more to that story. Rent the Chicken. We get the name out through chickens.
Now there's a business idea.
Now there's a story. I'm curious.
You just tie like an envelope to the chicken's neck.
And their leg. I don't know. Well, awesome, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and this will be available for replay if you want to share in your networks. Thanks, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dara.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.